the White House and some congressional Democrats over the issue of contraceptive coverage by health plans. Now, with the 2010 health care law, we saw that insurers must cover preventive health care services, right? They don't have a choice on that. Birth control is considered one of those preventive health care services.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of organizations and churches in the United States with religious affiliation, obviously, who would like to have an exemption, particularly if they feel that they object to this kind of coverage due to moral and religious grounds. What does this mean in reality? If we give an exemption to such organizations, that means that millions of women who work for colleges, hospitals, healthcare systems, universities that are only nominally religious, and they need birth control coverage, they wouldn't get it. So there's a real implication here for many, many women if this huge exemption goes into place. It's still being debated, but a lot of congressional Democrats have fought hard to make sure that women could keep this contraceptive and birth control covered under the health care law, and they're really disappointed that a pro-choice president would even consider budging on this issue.
It always amazes me. On the other side of the token, anyone who's on the Medicare can get those little blue pills, Viagra,
Thank
folks.
you.
They get that under the Medicare bill. I really don't think any of that should be allowed.
Right. I think that we've made so much progress in terms of women's health in this country. This would be a step backward for us to say something like birth control is not covered. And expanding this to any organization that has any religious affiliation impacts a lot of people. So I certainly hope that the Democrats who've been fighting on this issue win the fight.
Well, folks, this next story is from Italy. As you know, Italy is having a lot of problems. They got a lot of debt, and their bonds right now, the yields are like 7% up there. Now, how did they get there? Well, you got to start from 1947. For Italy was found, it says, a democratic republic founded on labor. So they take care of their labor. Consequently, they have something called 2,700 pages of opaque rules for the labor. And the labor is negotiated at the national level. There's no such thing that individual companies, in case they're going bankrupt, they want to reduce, they can negotiate with their own employees. No, sirree, you cannot. It has to be national. And national will not allow one or two companies to change the laws.
Wow.
Now, that's one reason. Because these laws do not apply to certain companies that have less than 10 employees, 95% of the Italian companies have less than 10 employees.
Oh, my goodness. They're just trying to get around the law.
That's right. And 15 to 27% is called an underground economy that you saw here goes on in China and India, where people are not registered to pay taxes or any of that. That's what is happening in Italy. Folks, they have a strike once a month.
Well, that's the thing. Those underground economies don't just show up for no reason. It's when the existing system doesn't work. That's why then people find alternatives. The existing system was clearly dysfunctional, so okay, we have to go around it.
That's right. And this is why I also rail about a lot of laws here in the United States that are labor-related laws. Look at any wall of any employer. There are at least 8 or 9 posters that you got to hang. And then again, they still have the right to go to the civil rights and other places to complain.
Those protections are important. Let's not underestimate the importance of labor protections.
Labor protection is good and fine, but you don't want to make it what Italy has. 15 million out of 27 million workers are over 40, and they enjoy the benefit. Consequently, they cannot leave the job. Because if they leave the job, they know they will not get a job back. So entrepreneurship is on the back burner. Or they are doing it on the side and still working. That's another possibility of it. But the Congress and the elected body in the Italian government, compare that to the Congress here. They work 2 days a week.
What?
Yes. Elected Congress in Italy, they work 2 days a week, They receive an after-tax salary of $90,000 per annum, plus $5,500 for living allowance and a similar sum for expenses. They get free plane and train tickets, meals subsidized by the taxpayer, free seats at premier soccer games, and a generous pension that kicks in after just 5 years of service. They are that country's politicians.
Wow.
And I thought I wanted to compare them with the politicians here in the United States.
Okay. I guess ours is still better in comparison. You know, during these difficult economic times, one sector of the economy that's really suffered is the nonprofit sector. You know, traditionally, nonprofit organizations have really relied heavily on grants. You know, they apply for grants from the government or from private foundations, and that funds most of their programming. Well, back in 2009, nonprofits took an 11% dip, a decline in what they were making. And so basically, you know, government is also giving fewer grants, and they're really struggling to find ways to stay afloat.
I don't think any company that just waits for revenue to come from another source to be operational is dead on arrival.
Well, here's where the creativity comes in. There's an organization called the Alliance for Global Good. It's a nonprofit group that promotes efficiency and effectiveness in philanthropy. And they're establishing a fund to support charitable organizations that come up with new business models. Because, like you said, the old business model does not seem to be working. So I thought this was very interesting because they're trying to encourage this in different organizations. One such example is a Chicago-based employment organization called North Lawndale Employment Network. Essentially, what they have decided to do is to create a for-profit beekeeping enterprise. Now, this employment network helps ex-offenders and other low-income residents to find jobs, right? Yeah. That's ultimately what their job is. Now, the beekeeping enterprise, what they're doing is they're giving employment training. The people who participate learn about food handling, retail sales, inventory and distribution. They're making honey, which is now being sold in Midwestern Whole Foods markets, and the profits from that honey that they're producing, it's called Sweet Beginnings, is going towards their programming so that they can help more unemployed people get back to work. So they've found a for-profit way to fund some really good work that they're doing as a nonprofit organization.
I really like that model much better. I mean, you look at Northern Virginia Hospital Group. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do the same thing. There used to be just one hospital, but now there are so many of them, and they're still nonprofit, mm-hmm. but they bring in money. Mm-hmm. I commend Dr. Gandhi, the CFO of District of Columbia. You know, World Bank and IMF, they are, after all, nonprofit, and they're mm-hmm. tax-free, and the